Well, welcome to day two, everybody. It's really exciting to be back with some of you who were here yesterday and some new folks that are just joining here today. We've got a full day and full lineup of presentations scheduled for you today in the Science and Soul Summit. And today's first presenter is Dr. Lisa Haake. And Lisa is really here to talk with us and to lead us through some practice as well around yoga and the nervous system, understanding and regulation. And this is such an important topic. It came up even a couple times yesterday. Such an important topic for us to know as yoga practitioners and yoga teachers and yoga therapists, and to have practice with ourselves. And so she's going to guide us through that. And I thought Lisa would be the perfect person to take us through this, because this is really a big part of the work that she does. So she is both a yoga therapist and a mental health professional, and she has her own practice in Urbana, Illinois, where she brings both of those modalities to the patients and the clients that she sees. So I'm going to let her share more. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you so much, Lisa. And I think we're ready to get started.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I want to add my welcome to Michelle's. I'm really grateful and honored to be a part of the summit. Uh, and thank you for being here. So let me just see if I can get the slides ready. This is always the challenge. I'm just going to get the slides ready, and then we're going to settle in for a little guided imagery practice. So go ahead and get yourself comfortable. If you're in a chair, let yourself be supported by the back of the chair. Feel your body in the chair. And place both feet on the floor. Just arrange your body so that you really can settle in. Feel free to take a breath in, a conscious breath in, and release it. And if you're comfortable closing your eyes, feel free to do that. If you'd rather leave your eyes open, and create something of a soft gaze, where the eyes are maybe halfway shut, halfway open. And I'd like you to imagine with me. It's early evening, late summer. You're at a long outdoor table with people you really like and care about. The light is soft and golden. It's slanting low through the trees. There's the smell of food. And these sounds of children laughing, crickets. Something warm is being prepared, something that took time and care, and someone just refilled your glass. You're not in a hurry. Nobody's checking the time. You look across the table at your partner or someone you really care about and you have a fondness for. The light catches them just right, and you notice them. You really notice this person. There's a warmth in your chest, a kind of ease all through your body. Your shoulders are soft. There's no clenching or tightness in your jaw. You take a bite of something delicious, and you're fully here for it. You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about anything else except this table, this light, the tastes, the sounds, and these people. This is your body in the parasympathetic nervous system state. Rest, feed, digest. A sense of safety, connection, nourishment. Notice right now what that feels like and where you feel it in your body. And then sounds. All of a sudden, fast footsteps, not a human, a blur of movement at the edge of the yard. It's a dog, not one you recognize. There's no collar. And this dog comes crashing through a gap in the hedge at a dead run, barking, teeth bared, moving toward the table, toward the kids at the end of the table. Notice what happens in your body right now in this imagined moment. Notice your heart rate, your breath, and the way your attention narrows to just that one thing. Maybe you sense in your hands that you want to move before your mind is even caught up. Maybe jumping out of your chair and going to the children, standing up, moving in that direction. This is sympathetic nervous system activation, fight or flight. So noticing it without judgment, just noticing how that feels in your body and where you notice it in your body. And now imagine this moment resolves. Someone gets the dog, calls it off. It was just lost and it was scared too. No one was hurt. Everybody begins to settle down. And notice how your body wants to also settle back down. Notice how you feel, what you want to do. Maybe just look around and double check everything is okay. The children are okay. Notice if your body settles right away or if it takes a little bit. Maybe there's a sensation, a little aftershake or an exhale. Maybe you want to reach for your loved one's hand. Again, just notice here how you feel in your body, where you feel this in your body. And in the next moment or two, it's coming back into your space, back into the present in your environment. You can softly open your eyes, take your time. There's absolutely no rush. As you're coming back, this is the whole stress response cycle. You just imagined it, where we start in a place of ease and the system activates to respond to something threatening. And then it comes back into the state of ease. We're going to weave this experience into our time together today. So we're going to start with an overview, and this is a broad strokes overview today because our time is pretty limited and we want to make sure that we have experience with moving the body and breath into a relaxed state. So broad overview, we'll just start with the nervous system, and you can see there's a lot going on here. And this might be information that you're already very, very familiar with. We won't linger here too much. I know it's a lot of information. Most of our time today will be spent here talking about the sympathetic nervous system. And sometimes people get a little caught on the word sympathetic because we think of it as a tenderness, and it is. The nervous system is sympathetic to the threat, and it turns on to help us respond to the threat. Parasympathetic is that home base. Our system was designed to be in the home base of rest and digest. I wanted us to take a little look at each of the systems and where they release off of the spinal cord. The nerves connected to the sympathetic nervous system, you'll see here, this is spinal cord, brain stem, brain, and the nerves that activate sympathetic response, a response to a threat or an opportunity, branch off at the thoracic spine and lumbar spine, a little bit in the cervical spine, but mostly in the trunk. And these nerve signals are doing things with the organs and mostly activating the body to move. So when we call sympathetic nervous system activation, we call it fight or flight. That is a literal meaning, like to move the body to fight off a threat or to run away from a threat. The sympathetic system gets activated because of sensory input and the appraisal of the limbic system. So again, we're moving quite quickly here just to get the overview of things. This is a graph of the limbic system. It sits right in the center of the brain. It's a pretty complex design. But mostly for our purposes today, we want to understand it as an appraiser. So this complex system here is sort of watching, sensing, taking in information from the senses, from our emotional experiences, from internal body signals like stress or hunger, cold, too hot. This part of our brain is constantly scanning and making decisions about whether things are safe or not safe. And we can think of it as the pilot light. It's the pilot light for the engine of survival and success. And I really want to emphasize here this idea that most of the time we think about the stress response cycle as negative, that stress is negative or bad. This is an innate wisdom of the body that helps us survive and also helps us be successful because the same system gets activated when we're motivated to some new opportunity. It doesn't feel quite the same, but it's the same system. An overview of the parasympathetic nervous system. There really are only 6 nerves branching off of the brainstem or the spinal cord at the cranial area and at the sacral area. So we think of the rest and digest as having a cranial sacral outflow. And it really makes sense, right? Because the nerves around the jaw and the base of the top of the spine for eating and digesting. And people don't talk about it very much. I don't know why, but it's also responsible for that being able to relax enough to engage in romance and sexual behavior. So we would say rest and digest, feed and breed. And it makes sense because the nerves branch off around the sacrum. This is the part of the system that comes back or springs back after the sympathetic system activates. It helps us out. The threat is passed, just like the dog was caught and everything's okay. And then the system goes back to its home base. We're going to talk briefly about the vagus nerve, which is a particularly important element of the parasympathetic system. So in this bullet point here, vagus nerve CNX means cranial nerve 10. This one right here. If you ever have a chance to look at the vagus nerve on a YouTube video, you can see a surgery of an exposed vagus nerve, and it's actually quite thick and kind of ropey. It's really fascinating. Very broad overview of the vagus nerves. There's two of them because they branch off on either side of the brain stem. So we talk a lot about vagus nerve. There's two of them. Vagus is Latin for wandering, and you can see in this graphic, it's the longest one, longest nerve, passing through all of the major organs and branching out into the gut. There's a lot of information taken in from the gut and sent to the limbic system. 80% of what the vagus nerves are doing is taking information from the body and sending it to the brain. So those are afferent nerves. The vagus nerve primarily is taking information from the body and sending it to the brain. And this is important because that means when we change what's going on in the body, we can change what's going on in the brain, what's happening in the brain. So here's the whole stress response cycle. I just wanted to spell it out so that you could have it clear in your mind. We start, our primary design is to start or be in a state of rest and digest, feed and breed. That's our home base. The vagus nerve picks up on information either from the environment outside of us or the environment inside of us and delivers that message of threat or potential opportunity to the limbic system. The limbic system signals activation, neurochemicals are released, fight or flight is turned on, everything in the body prepares for moving. The threat is then avoided or the opportunity is secured through physical movement. When that happens, it's all clear. So I don't mean this flippantly, it's true. If we survive, if we're still alive after the threat, then the system kind of takes that in, recognizes the all clear. The body might do a little shiver or shake. There's a long sigh or exhale. That's all clear message is sent to the limbic system. Limbic system turns off all of those activating signals, and then we come back to our home base. So just a few thoughts about the nervous system and the modern human. What I just described is the design in our ancient coding. And our lifestyle now has evolved away from mostly actual physical threat to perceived threat. And I think this is an opinion of mine, you don't have to agree, but I think an overemphasis on opportunity. The evolved brain, I'm talking about the forehead here, prefrontal cortex, the evolved brain has the capability of creating all kinds of scary scenarios. The limbic system can't discern between imagination and reality. It does not have the structure for that discernment. That's what the frontal lobes do. When we think about something scary or when we think about something pleasant, the limbic system operates as if it was real in real time. Our modern successful lifestyles require us to function at a very high level, or maybe just on the edge of sympathetic activation. And many, many people are stuck in a state of chronic stress. And this is why the idea of stress gets a negative billing. It's the chronic stress, not the natural design to respond to threat or opportunity. So chronic unmanaged stress and trauma set that pilot light, the limbic system, as the engine for success and survival. Chronic stress and trauma set the pilot light to a higher than factory setting. We'll talk briefly about trauma. All of this information, I believe, could be an entire semester's worth of material. We could really, really get into it. So we're just hitting the high points today. Basically, the word trauma or the term trauma is to wound. Comes from the Greek. And the folks that study trauma, write about trauma, are clinicians in helping people recover from trauma. They talk about it as an imprint. So it's not so much the actual event, but how the event imprinted on the person's nervous system, on the body, and on the psyche. And because of the limbic system's inability to discern between reality and thinking, when people replay their memories of their experience, the nervous system believes it's actually happening. And so the sympathetic response will be activated. Some of what makes up trauma is the inability to complete the stress response cycle. The problem in our modern lifestyle is that we sit with scary thoughts, but we don't move. So there's an activation, but there's no outlet for completion. And so, in some senses, the sympathetic response will get kind of stuck. Trauma can show up in a variety of ways. So, the current best understanding of mood disorders in my clinical field of psychotherapy, mood disorders meaning anxiety, the cluster of experiences in anxiety or the cluster of experiences in depression. Those are really now thought to be expressions of trauma. They're not the illness, they're the symptom. So trauma can show up in mood disorders, in nightmares, in relationship problems, emotional dysregulation, and somatic issues. Like lots of stuff shows up in the body that could be the expression of trauma. And we'll talk a bit about resilience. Again, what is resilience? The root word means to spring back. I like the definition at the top: to resist, absorb, recover, and transform from the effects of hazards or traumatic experiences. I love the fact of including transforming, because that's a lot of what yoga does for us, helps us transform. Resilience includes an adaptation and meaning making from our experiences, the big why question. But in the spring back, the original root definition, we can think of this about in terms of the relationship between sympathetic and parasympathetic. They are designed to work together for our success and our survival. So when the sympathetic activation happens, the threat or the opportunity has been resolved, then the nervous system springs back to the parasympathetic state. That in itself is a form of resilience. Like the natural design in our body is to be resilient, to come back to that state. Vagal tone, so this is a quality in the vagus nerve. Vagal tone can reflect a person's nervous system resilience. The current research around vagal tone that is well documented, reliable, and valid according to Western science are through two means: heart rate variability, and I got to get my notes because I never can remember RSA, respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Those sound really complicated, but basically, heart rate variability is the pattern of tiny little fluctuations from one heartbeat to the next. It represents, it reflects the nervous system that can flexibly shift between sympathetic and then back to parasympathetic, mobilizing when it's needed, coming back to a state of baseline when it's not needed. RSA is the natural variation in heart rate that occurs with breathing. So when we inhale, the heart rate elevates just a bit. And when we exhale, the heart rate lowers just a bit. And the variation between the two shows up as a form of vagal tone. The better the vagal tone, the more resilient the nervous system. What typically happens as a sign of vagal tone is a rough ratio of inhale to exhale of 1 to 2. So there are quite a few breathing practices that involve that very ratio of breath. So a longer exhalation is evidence of vagal tone, but we can also create vagal tone by practicing breathing in that way, stretching out the exhale. So I wanted to just give a broad overview through the kosha model of yoga therapy interventions for the stress response cycle. This is by no means an exhaustive list. I'm just trying to hit some high points here. And we go through the kosha model, starting with Annamaya, the body, the food body. Movement is our primary yoga tool for completing the stress response cycle. Typically, we want vigorous movement because that's what happens with fighting and fleeing. Vigorous movement. Now, it's not accessible to all people, but vigorous vinyasa flow or Ashtanga practice. Some other movement. Today we're not doing 15 sun salutations together, but we'll be doing some other vigorous kind of movement. And then I just wanted to mention Ayurvedic and interventions because it's part of our caring for the food body, utilizing quality food, regular sleep routines, self-massage. These are ways that can support the body to be resilient and spring back to that rest and digest state. We've already briefly touched on pranayama. We'll be practicing a couple of those in just a few minutes. And a little emphasis on chakras and nadis, the energy channels through the body. Studying that, practicing that, and tapping into qualities of energy through mudra practice. Most of this information that I'm sharing today is emphasizing sort of the stress, the high levels of energy. I just want to mention that, as probably most of you know, all of these practices can also lift energy. The stress response cycle can be supported by mantra, visualization, bhavana, and an underpinning, a foundation of yoga philosophy. So in our modern life, most of our stress response comes from thinking and verbal exchanges between people. So it's a primary intervention to come into what's happening with the mind and give the mind something else to think about. through an imagery or repetition. Meditation, mindfulness, and yoga nidra very much support what's happening in Vijnanamaya kosha, helping support a person's ability to move into the wisdom and also to accept the innate wisdom of the body. I'm a little bit on a mission to help convince people that their stress response isn't a bad thing. It's actually wise. And then to access bliss, practicing things like gratitude, loving kindness, laughing, like looking for things to laugh with, humor, comedians, engaging with community, finding a sangha. Again, not an exhaustive list. These are just some things that I pulled for reference sake. Before we move into the practice, I just wanted to give you an overview because I think this is important from my vantage point for helping people to understand how the stress response cycle works and where to intervene. First, our primary tool, which I should have mentioned in the other slide, our primary tool is awareness. Something's happening here. And this comes from our yoga philosophy foundation of Svadhyaya. So studying the self without judgment. Just like, what's going on for me right now? My heart rate is fast, my breath is shallow, my muscles are tense. Oh, maybe fight or flight response has been activated. I know what to do. Vigorous movement for a discharge. So you think of a buildup of energy, it's intense, it's often hot or fragmented. It's building up in the body. It needs a place to go. So discharging it through vigorous movement, moving the trunk, moving the arms, moving the legs. Muscle tensing and releasing can be a way to discharge that energy, especially for people that might have limitation in their movement. A natural thing that happens when a threat has been avoided or an opportunity has been secured, the body, and we'll see it in animals, the body will kind of shiver or shake, sigh, yawn. I want to put a plug in for one of my favorite books, Why Zebras Don't Have Ulcers by Robert Sapolsky. It's like they don't think about when the leopard's coming to kill them. They're just there drinking the water. And the ones that survive the leopard attack, their whole body will shake and shiver. And they'll breathing in a 1-to-2 ratio for that respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Arrhythmia sounds bad, but it's actually what we want. We want a variation in the inhale to exhale. And then a little retention or kumbhaka, retention for vagal stimulation. So when we pull the muscles in the belly, just lightly, that's actually stimulating the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve sends signal to limbic system. Toning, chanting, humming, again for vagal stimulation because that cranial nerve 10 is branching out right here near the jaw. So it's feeling the vibrations of humming, chanting, and toning. And then turning the awareness inward. You can just see that the whole, it's not an arc, right? The line, the shape of the practice is from high level down to quiet. This idea of let me meet myself where I am. I'm in a high activated state. I'm going to meet myself there and gently, gradually coax myself down. So that's what we're going to do together. This is an opportunity for you to stand up. You can also engage in this practice seated if you prefer, if you have those limitations in your body. But I'm going to go ahead and stand up.
It might be best if you stop the share, Lisa, so we can see you better.
Got it. Thank you. Sometimes I need those reminders. Oh, feel free to just to stretch, to move a little bit. So if you bring your awareness back into the feelings that you felt in the guided imagery practice, where the dog came through the hedge and it was really scary and you were worried about the children, you felt that activation in your own body. The way to meet that, remember, is through the trunk. I had a really fun song for us to dance to and to move to, but the technical issues weren't on our side. So we're just going to march in place for a bit here. You can do this to your level of effort or speed, but you can see we really want to get things moving in the trunk, moving the arms like we're running, we're fleeing, we're getting away from the threat. Lifting your knees up as high as you can. And you can go at your own pace, as a reminder. Then an alternative is a cross-body motion. We're moving the arms across the body. This kind of represents a punch, fighting, but we don't want to rehearse violence. So keep your palm open. I'm kind of goofy. I like to imagine I'm just flinging glitter all around the world. So I'd usually keep this up for a while, moving across pattern or marching in place or some twisting action. And again, we really want to get moving in the trunk. We'll just do this just a little bit longer. Then we'll start to slow it down. You just slow the pace down a little bit, making sure that your hands are soft. I don't know about you, but I'm already starting to just feel a little more spacious. And you could sway from side to side a little bit. Gradually, gradually, I'm going to stop the motion. Feel yourself planted evenly in your feet. Lift your shoulders up to the ears and really make your shoulders and neck tight on purpose. Breathe in and let go. We'll do that 2 more times and build just a little more tension each time. Shoulders come up. Now make a fist. Tense your arms, your neck, your throat. Breathe in and release. Last time, we're going to clench the shoulders, upper back, arms, fist, your throat, and now your face. Make your scrunchiest face ever. And exhale. Do a little shaking. Sort of shake. We're hacking our nervous system because we're doing the thing that our body would naturally do. And shake your hands and wrists. Shake your bum a little bit. And shake out through your feet and ankles. Gently, gently, maybe shake your head, make your jaw really soft. And then we'll pause here and practice some self-study. This is one of the most important elements of this work, these interventions, is I'm going to apply some tools, and now I want to see what the effect was. So just take a moment and you're checking in with your own being. Like, how does it feel in my body? What's the quality of my breath right now? What's happening in my mind? Can I see clearly and wisely? Is there any little whiff of bliss right now? And again, for our purposes, because of short time, we're getting a taste of some of these practices. In real life, we would apply this vigorous motion as much as needed until we or our clients are feeling that downshift. So let's come back to seated. Making yourself comfortable in your seat. I do encourage both feet on the floor. We'll move into the 1 to 2 ratio of breath. We're going to add in a little bonus practice. I'm blocking the right nostril. I won't be mirroring you because I'd like to benefit from the practice too. So blocking the right nostril, breathing in and out just through the left nostril. Your opposite hand is resting in the lap. Soften through your body. Just start to feel the breath coming in and out through the left nostril. Just getting a sense of breath happening. And then we'll move into the 1 to 2 ratio of breath. So on the inhale, you may count for yourself 2 or 3. And then exhale, counting to 4 or maybe 6. Take some concentration and regulation to make sure that the breath pattern stays this way. And we're practicing and training the vagus nerve for that vagal tone. Inhaling, counting to 2 or 3. Exhale, release, counting to 4 or 6. Really stretch out the exhalation. When you complete this round, as you come to the bottom of the exhale, release your block from the right nostril. Let your hands rest in the lap. Make sure you're soft through the shoulders. Muscles in the thighs and legs are heavy and soft. Then we return to the check-in. So let me take a little data point. How did that intervention affect my system? What am I noticing? We're coming to this practice without expectation. We're just looking for how things actually are. So we know what tools we may need to apply or to continue with. If your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them. We'll be applying another pranayama and mudra combo. This is one of my personal favorite practices. It really helps me settle back down. I'm going to watch me as I demonstrate. Maybe you know this practice really well, but I want to go through it for you. This is Brahmari bee breath with Shanmukhi mudra, which is a representation of the fifth limb of the classical path of yoga, withdrawing the senses. So we use the 5 fingers representing the 5 senses. You can place your thumbs just on the outside of the ear flaps. We're closing off the sense of sound. The index fingers resting just above the brow, representing the sense of feeling or in the skin sensation. Middle finger rests on top of the eyelids, closing off sight. Ring fingers on the outside of the nostrils, representing smell, index fingers on the outside of the mouth representing taste. So the practice is inhaling fairly deeply as to your capacity, and then exhaling with the lips closed, making a humming sound. So you'll hear the sound of a bee droning. We'll do that 3 times on your own pace. So closing off the senses, deep inhalation to your capacity, and then exhaling. 2 more times. Last round. When you've completed that last round, releasing the hands back into the lap, softening through the whole body. Turning your breath back over to your body. It knows how to breathe itself. And settle back into a practice of svadhyaya, just noticing what effect, if any, that practice had on your system. And we approach this practice without expectation or judgment, really are collecting data just as it is. Hopefully, we're feeling enough of a downshift that we can begin moving even further inward. So, an invitation to practice a hand gesture called Adhi Mudra. The thumbs curl into the palms and the fingers very gently curl around the thumbs. So, I think of this as kind of tucking a little precious item into my hands. And then these knuckles rest on tops of the thighs. So we're not making a fist at all. It's like swaddling something with a loving, warm blanket. This is the gesture of primordial stillness. Let's pause here as you notice the effect, if any, that this hand gesture is bringing to your system. You may notice your breath, but we're not trying to intervene in the breath right now. A loving, gentle awareness of the jaw, softening around the jaw. The tongue is soft. Bring your awareness deep into the pelvis. And softening any tension that might be there. Maybe sense into the sacrum, the back of the pelvis. The jaw and the pelvis, where the nerves for resting and digesting branch off of the spinal cord. And then we'll return to the guided imagery that we started with this morning. These guided imagery can be a form of meditation. It's something to focus the mind on. So bringing back into your mind this scene. It's a summer evening. The weather is just right. One of those rare and idyllic evenings when it's not too hot, not too humid, not too buggy. You can feel the breeze on your skin, maybe the texture of your own clothing. Notice what you smell. Perhaps that delicious food that's being prepared. Maybe cut grass, smell of flowers nearby. Really let yourself get into it. Add into your scene whatever comes to mind and that you really enjoy. What do you hear? Crickets, breeze rustling through the leaves on the trees around you, maybe some evening bird song. Children laughing and playing. What do you see? Take it all in. Really get into it. What do you see? Maybe the sun's glint on the glasses or the silverware, the faces of people you're so fond of. Maybe a sunset, clouds. Then what do you taste? This is your imagined dinner party, so you can taste whatever is the most delicious to you. Let yourself linger here with all of this warmth, softness, presence. Notice how it feels. Creating this scene for yourself. It's more slipping into the practice of self-study, observing your experience just as it is, noticing what it's like in your own body, in your breath and energy. Notice the state and quality of your mind and any emotions that might be present. Become aware of any wisdom or awareness or clarity that has bubbled up. and notice if there's a quality of bliss present. And you can continue to keep your eyes closed if you like, but go ahead and gently, slowly release the hand gesture, feeling into your hands and fingers. And the next breath or two, you can again start to softly, softly open the eyes, taking your time, coming back into your space, coming back fully into your body and awareness. There's some kind of miracle happening today. There are 3 minutes left for any thoughts or questions that you have or you'd like to share. And there's no expectation. Maybe you just want to float along with your practice.
Any questions for Lisa? I'll say that I had a wonderful experience there, Lisa. Thank you so much for guiding us through that whole thing. Always learn so much from you.
Thanks, Michelle.
There's some comments coming in the chat. Yeah. It was
Oh,
a great description of the nervous system. Thanks for acknowledging that, Sarah. Yeah. Lisa does have a great way to make things really accessible. And something I'll point out is that the cadence of your speech and the tone of your voice is also very grounding. And I think as yoga teachers and yoga therapists, that is part of the picture that we can communicate with our clients. I think it's important for us to remember that, and maybe you had that experience today to kind of reiterate that for yourself. Great. Amy says, as a birth worker, whole session was immediately applicable to labor and birth. Great. Thanks for all the comments, folks, and thanks for being here. And thank you so much, Lisa.
thank you. Thank you for being here. Um, I I would be happy to share the slides and if Michelle will help me figure that out.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, yeah. So we'll make slides available with the replays in the case that the presenter has agreed to that. So just you can wait to hear more from that, everyone.
Great. I really enjoyed our time together. I wish we could spend more time together because there's so much more to talk about. But thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Lisa. And Lisa is on the faculty in our 200-hour yoga teacher training program and in our 300-hour Foundations in Yoga Therapy program. And she's also the lead facilitator in our mentorship for anxiety and depression and trauma in our 800-hour yoga therapy certification program. So we're delighted to have her, and I'm delighted that you had this experience with her today too. We'll take a little break. I'm going to stop the recording here, but you're welcome to stay in the Zoom room. I'm not going to close the meeting down. We'll just keep it open, and we're going to start back again in 15 minutes, 10:15 Mountain Time, with Smitha Malaya, who is already here, and she'll be speaking on yoga therapy in oncology and the work that she does at MD Anderson. So we'll be back soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.